I had for a poll question. Well, you hit it there a little bit. How much does your preseason record matter? A little or a lot? There's got to be some kind of data to show how teams perform after doing.
Paulie is holding data. Paulie is holding said data.
Yeah, so I've wondered this before. I think remember when the Detroit Lions were 0-16? They were undefeated in that preseason. Okay. So it doesn't correlate. So of the last 29 NFL teams that went undefeated in the preseason, do you think it's more likely that they made the playoffs or missed the playoffs? What do you guys think? Teams that went undefeated. You're correct. 65% of the last 29 teams that went undefeated in the preseason did not make the playoffs. Only 35% did. And on the opposite side of it, there have been 28 teams that went winless in the preseason in the past 10 years. 43% of those went on to make the playoffs. 57% missed it. So the worse you do in the preseason record-wise, the better your chance is to make the playoffs. That's a stat.
Yeah, but it feels like if I'm a coach and maybe I'm taking over a bad team, I want them to know what it feels like to win. Get that feeling, no matter even if it's a preseason game. So you try harder. It's like the worse you are, the harder you try in preseason. At least that's always the feeling I get. I don't know if Kansas City Chiefs go, man, we're going to be terrible this year. Or, I'm looking at some of these other teams. So the Bears are undefeated. The Vikings are undefeated as well. Now, this is going into games this weekend. Packers are 1-1. So the teams in the division and the Lions are 1-1. I don't know if any of that matters. I think it's more of, did we see something we didn't expect? Did everybody stay healthy? And then, because some coaches believe in that final preseason game you're going to play. You're going to play your starters. You want them to get a taste of it. I don't know the philosophy anymore. It feels like it's, team by team, coach by coach. But, it used to be that last preseason game, you probably played your starters a long time ago because you wanted to get ready for that regular season. And I always go back to the Patriots. When Belichick and Brady were there, they would say the following. After preseason, they would struggle, it felt like in September, and they'd say, September is our preseason. That's how good they were, that they used the first 3 or 4 games of the regular season as their preseason for their starters. And we know how it usually ended up for them. Any other teams in there? So most recently, you have the undefeated Chicago Bears, and you had the Lions who went undefeated but then were 0-16. Any other interesting anomalies there? Something stand out?
Yeah, a couple years ago, last year, the Steelers were 3-0 in the preseason. They did make the playoffs.
Okay.
Last year, the Jaguars and Commanders were both 3-0 in the preseason. They missed it. If you go back a few years ago, the 2023 Rams, they were 0-3 in the preseason. Everyone wrote them off because of the previous year. They ended up making the playoffs last year. So those are a few anomalies.
All right. Watch a little bit of preseason action last night. Anthony Richardson had a pass that resulted in a pick six, and Kirk Herbstreit was all over Anthony Richardson, the second-year pro out of Florida. He plays for the Colts. I don't know if it was necessarily his fault. A lot of times, and we've tried to bring up a stat here, like receiver-caused interception. What was did we have what RCI? Is that we were calling this?
Yeah.
The receiver caused the interception. Yep. It felt like that last night with Anthony Richardson. He threw a pick six, and Herbie was like, "Oh my gosh, Joe Flacco could come in and replace him," which I guess he could. It just felt like it was so obvious that there was a mistake made. Whether the quarterback thought the receiver was going one way or, vice versa. But the pick six there. And you're trying to pick up things. Now, he is great at running the football. I don't know if that's what I want to say about my quarterback. You know what he does really well? He runs. Okay, Michael Vick ran really, really well. I wanted him to be a really good passer as well. Lamar Jackson is, I think, developing into a dangerous passer, pretty good passer. I don't want you running. RG3, great runner. I don't want you running. I want you running when you can. I don't want when you're forced to run. So watching last night, Anthony Richardson is freakish. He's unique. He's one of those, he's like a Cam Newton feel, because he's so big, and you're just waiting to see. And I think the Colts are a sneaky team. And, I mean, even last year, they carved out a pretty good season with, had injuries. Richardson got hurt early. Jonathan Taylor got hurt as well. And that's in a division that might be up for grabs. And you know what? Talking to two people yesterday who are professional gamblers, they are fading. Okay, I'll ask you guys. The team that these two professional gamblers are fading this season. Paulie, I'll start with you.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay. No, they have them, I think, winning the NFC. Todd, these professional gamblers, they are fading this team, respected team.
I think they're concerned about the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills, no. Seton O'Connor.
The Ravens?
No. Marvin.
The Houston Texans.
Yes, it is. The Houston Texans. Because of the schedule that they have a really, really tough schedule. They benefited from an easier schedule the previous year. Now, I'm with them. I don't think the Texans are going to be that Super Bowl contender. I just think so much fanfare, so much expectation, and the quarterbacks that they're going to face, they're facing top 10 quarterbacks, it feels like, almost week in and week out. And I think, yes, Eden.
Did Anthony Richardson have a good preseason, though?
I don't know. I don't know what they would consider he stayed healthy, and he is kind of unique when I watch him play. He might have those games where you go, ugh, or he might have those games where you go, ooh. Yes, Eden.
Well, yeah, it's like drive by drive, right? He has first drive as a touchdown, second drive as a pick six. You're like, dang. But his, as we're talking about preseasons mattering, there are, the Bears go 4-0, and you're like, Caleb, heck yeah. All right, that's great. Anthony Richardson, you're like, I don't know. It feels like his is being weighed a little more because, I don't know, is it individual performance? Is it?
Yeah, and it's weird how you want to use it either to strengthen your argument or weaken somebody's argument because you're going, it doesn't matter what Brock Purdy does in the preseason. Okay. Did you see, whoever, and you're like, wait a minute, it doesn't matter in the preseason. Well, for certain quarterbacks it does, or certain teams it does, other teams it doesn't. I don't know if anybody cares what the Kansas City Chiefs did in preseason. I don't know if it matters to anybody or should matter to anybody. Yes, Eden.
Right. Are we really saying that Brock Purdy hasn't proven himself? I mean, that's what that. If you're looking at a preseason performance for him, you're like, what? So we really still have question marks on if that kid can play or not. That's what that says.
Yes, we pick and choose. Yes, Paul.
I think this is also about football coverage. It's August, and you need something to cover. There's not a lot of transactions in August. There's hopefully not a lot of injuries in August. So the preseason performances is the fodder for the media. And I think it's bigger on the local level. Like in Chicago right now, going 4-0 in the preseason, the media there is like, it really can't get any better than this. As calm as you try to be and objective as you try to be, it's hard to in the moment. But then you get bitten every year. You fall in love with preseason, and then in November you're like, preseason had nothing to do with what happened during this season.
Chicago should be a good team this year. I'm not saying, I have them as a playoff team, but I don't look at them as a dangerous team right now. I look at there's like the top tier in the NFC. You got Philadelphia and you got San Francisco. Now, you might put Green Bay in there. I don't know if you put Dallas in there. I mean, there's a couple of outliers there. But for the most part, you're looking at two teams, and then there's that next level. And Green Bay might be in that next level. I don't know if Chicago can get in there. Detroit is going to be in there. They're probably there with Philadelphia and San Francisco based off what happened last year. Green Bay went toe-to-toe during the postseason. Big win in Dallas. So I think sometimes you look at these teams and you go, it doesn't matter if you don't play well. And then the teams that aren't very good, we get excited because they do play well.